Optimism. It's a good thing, right? Optimism is only good stuff, right? I'm going to actually say no, optimism is not good. Now, before you yell at me and be like, you say you never smile, you say you're never happy, that's not what I'm saying. Let's go with the definition of what the word optimism is before anyone. So don't throw stuff just yet. You're gonna have a chance, but optimism, according to Webster's dictionary, and there's another thought there that I'm going to come back to in a second. Webster's dictionary says an inclination to put the most favorable construction upon actions and events, or to anticipate the best possible outcome. Now, you may hear that and go, okay, well, I don't like that. That's not good. An inclination to put the most favorable construction upon actions. So when you see somebody do something stupid or bad or whatever, do you go, they're malicious, they're doing that intentionally, they're trying to hurt people, or they're an idiot, or whatever? Or do you look at their actions and go, oh, they just don't know better? I bet if someone just sat them down and have a little talk with them, I bet if someone wouldn't be stealing that stuff from the store if they just had some food on the table. They're probably just stealing that perfume, and they're probably just stealing the several $1,000s worth of perfume so that they can feed their little child at home. You know, that's putting a favorable construction upon people looting, right? I bet that the reason why they just stole those 2 giant flat screen TVs is because, you know, they just have a rough home life. And if that may help them feel more at peace. You know, I'm not one of those people. I look at the person stealing the flat screens TVs and I say, that entitled, spoiled brat. That is not putting the most favorable. That's a pessimistic, right? That is a realistic or a pessimistic. I like the term realistic or realism, right? So what am I getting at here? Optimism is bad. Optimism leads to poor choices. And I'm not just saying that, but let's see here. Medical News Today has an article out. Being overly optimistic may be linked to poor decision making. Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir here because if you're a doom and gloomer like me, you look at the world and you say, good things aren't happening. It's mostly bad stuff, and it's going more bad. That's not an optimistic viewpoint, right? You're not anticipating the best possible outcome. You're going, they say they're going to do all sorts of bad stuff, and I think that they're probably going to end up doing all that bad stuff, or at least some of the bad stuff they said. You know, we have certain politicians campaigning for no enforcement of certain things, like long lines that are drawn on maps. No enforcement at all. That's what they campaigned on. And optimists would say, oh, they don't really mean that. They were just joking about that. Realists would say, no, they meant that. They meant that, and what they're saying is what they're going to do. And, you know, years later now, we're finding out that the politician that was selected for us last time around was very serious about, and actually, the pessimists were right. He did more bad stuff than he said he was even trying to do. So he's exceeded the expectations of all of the wackos and nut jobs out there. So this Medical News Today survey that they're speaking of, they did a survey, a study based on 36,000 people in the UK. And they kind of basically figured out whether they were kind of more optimistic or pessimistic. And then they kind of looked at their financial planning and the financial decisions that they make. And can you imagine what kind of results were from that? If you imagine that things are just going to go well in the future, do you think that's going to lead to good decision-making? Or do you think it's going to make bad decision-making? When it comes to people's personal financial planning, they found that that people with the highest cognitive ability, they also measured like intelligence versus their optimism, and they found that that they were the people who succeeded well, that had the best brain function, cognitive ability, smartest people, you could say, most intelligent, 22% more likely to be pessimistic in financial planning, with a 34.8% reduction in optimism compared to people of low cognitive ability. So if you're pessimistic, or as we like to say, realistic, you might be smarter. You might be smarter. And if you're optimistic, kudos to you. You probably smile a lot more than the rest of us, but you know, when you need a loan, you can come to one of us pessimistic people, and and we'll decide whether to give you a loan or not. Right? We're joking a little bit, but we're kind of serious at the same time, because when we realize that the world is not all sunshine and roses, when we realize that bad things happen to people, and you need to plan for those financial problems, you need to have an emergency fund. You need to have food stocked up for hard times. You need to think ahead. Now, I'm not saying necessarily go out in the backyard and dig a bunker, though over the past year, I've really seriously thought about doing that here. And I may just do it any one of these days. Okay, a bunker may be a little extreme, but like, are you financially prepared for tough times? Both in your personal life and then also even in your national economics, right? And we talk a lot about that on this channel, about how things are not looking good internationally. And when we look at the facts, if you ran your household finances the way these crooks in Washington are running the finances of the country, you'd be laughed out of town. You'd be living in a cardboard box if you could afford the cardboard box. The bank might come and take your cardboard box if you ran it like these politicians are running it, right? These guys and gals are just completely dead set on them becoming millionaires at the expense of everyone else. They can't balance the budget, but somehow they can just amass millions and millions and millions of dollars. So, I mean, I'm not saying they're smart or not smart, but when it comes to integrity, we can certainly say something about that, can't we? They have that place wide open for business for any crazy person that wants to come walking across. And that's why we stand with Texas, of course. We want to have that front and forward, because that is really the most defining issue we have today, is that being open and nobody doing anything about it. Now, Texas government's doing a little bit, but they're doing enough to get reelected, and that's what we find a lot of Republicans doing enough to get reelected. Nobody's really taking a stand. Nobody's really treating it like the crisis it is. Is it a matter of life and death? It absolutely is. People are dying every day because of the decision of what's happening along that little ribbon. So when we look at optimism versus pessimism, or realism, should you look at things and say, something bad could happen? I should be more prepared. Now, I said that earlier, that if you're optimistic, you probably smile more than the rest of us. And there's something to be said for that. I think that most of us who watch the news, watch the doom and gloom, and you kind of look for the sky to be falling a little bit, you see the people who are all just like prancing down the road, you know, waving their hands and singing songs as they rack up credit card debt and rack up loans for their cars and all this kind of stuff like that. And you look at them and they seem to be living their best life now. And you can almost, no, as a good Christian, I would never hope that it starts raining on their parade. But as a pessimist, someone who is looking at the world as it is, a realist, you know, there is that inkling where you kind of kind of hope things kind of work out where you get shown to have made the right decisions, right? I mean, you get an insurance policy, and it's like, you don't want the house to burn down, but then again, after decades of paying home insurance money, you know, you're kind of like, what do I really get for this if my house doesn't actually burn down? So you don't want the house to burn down, but you do start asking questions about, why am I really paying all this money if nothing ever happens? An optimist would say, you don't need the home insurance. An optimist would say, you don't need the car insurance. Nothing bad's going to ever happen. But a realist would say, yeah, you need that stuff because bad stuff does happen sometimes. And putting a favorable construction on everything, looking at the political parties and going, oh, they're really they both really just care about us. I see what they're doing in Washington, D.C., but I'm going to pretend like all they're doing there is just, they're maybe just kind of a little bit dumb or something like that. Whereas us realists would look at it and go, no, they're literally just trying to rob us. They're trying to rob us, and they think that we're just stupid, and they think that we're just complete morons, and they really hate us when it comes down to it. Us realists kind of see that and get that. So when you have to make some financial decisions, do you make conservative financial decisions based on the fact that there could be a flood tomorrow? There could be a flood next year. Or do you just say, it's always going to be sunny. It's always going to be rainbows and sparkles. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that down in the comment section down below. Is there a place for optimism? I don't think that you should be living with a doom and gloom heart. And I don't think that you should be unthankful, ungrateful, and just just a bore to everybody. You know, going around with your cloud over your head, and you go up to people and you start raining on them. I don't think we should be like that, but I think that we should be making financial decisions based on our realistic outlook, making economic decisions like jobs and locations of where you get your home. I think it's wise to look at who do you have around you, how many millions of people or thousands of people or tens of thousands of people live in the immediate vicinity around you, and are they good, upstanding, moral people, or are they, potential zombies, right? If we have a zombie apocalypse, are they just zombie food, or are they going to actually be an asset and an assistance to you? I mean, an optimist would go, that's just dumb thinking. You should just buy the house that has the highest home value and has the most potential for going up in value if everything stays sunny. They don't really think about growing their own food, generally speaking, unless they just really like gardening, right? But I think all those points are valid and important points to be thinking about. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think. If you guys hadn't heard, I've already started to, I'm starting to pick up the newsletter again, so I'm going to be writing the whole newsletter. So if you want to subscribe to that, if you haven't already subscribed to the newsletter, stay connected to me and also be getting that weekly letter. You can sign up for that. There's a link right here on the screen. You can click on the link and sign up for the newsletter. It's free and it comes out weekly, and it's just a letter from me to you guys and gives you an opportunity to kind of interact with me too, even. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. Thanks so much for watching. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report.